Part 29. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 282. Come out of the room. Shenjian's sack bulged a little more. This gave him a sense of accomplishment that his efforts would be rewarded. He walked on the road in the urban village, looking around for his target. You are the person in charge of Qing City codenamed Yan Luo, right? At this time, a figure came from a distance. Shenjian looked over. It was the man with dark circles under his ID, Yao Yet. Who are you? I am the person in charge of Baidu City, my name is Luo Quan. The man with dark circles came over and said straight to the point, let's cooperate. This silver-armored ghost king has made it clear that he wants us to kill each other. Although we don't need to worry about being attacked, we will not be in peace if we join the law enforcement team. Alliances can be formed. Shenjian was slightly surprised in his eyes. Although 4-star players already have the qualifications to become the person in charge of a city, Luo Quan obviously only controls 2 ghosts. He can stand out from the competition and become the person in charge of the city. He must have 2 skills. And Baidu City, he remembered, was a second-tier city. Binhai City has a better geographical environment than Qing City. Seeing that Shenjian didn't speak, Luo Quan continued to throw out chips. I have been observing you just now. You were walking aimlessly here. I guess you haven't found a suitable tenant to knock on the door yet. I have a supernatural prop on me. You can roughly judge the range of yin qi of Li Gui. I can share this prop with you. Speaking of this, Luo Quan was very confident in convincing Shenjian. He happened to appear here a few minutes ago and saw Shenjian, who had been looking around. He knew without looking that the person in charge of Qingxi did not have any supernatural tools to detect the evil spirit of ghosts, so he had been wandering around. Although the 2 of them still had their own camp choices, as they were both city leaders, he felt that they could cooperate with Shenjian. After all, Shenjian himself may not even know how popular he is on the supernatural forum. Every once in a while, someone will post that they have met a great god with the ID of King Yama, and under the guidance of the great god, they have successfully cleared the dungeon. Posts like this appear almost every once in a while. He synthesized all the evaluations and came to a surprising conclusion: this is a good person in the traditional sense and a godly teammate in the true sense. In the dungeon game, not only does he help his teammates clear the level for free, but he will also be the first to rush to help anyone who encounters danger. There is no intrigue, no calculation, no conspiracy. It's as if this person is doing these things simply to help others. There may be a few such people in the real world, but in an extremely dangerous thriller game, it can be said that he is the only one. At first, he wasn't actually sure about this either. After all, their ids are different. But after he asked his friends, he was finally sure that this person was the good old man in the supernatural forum, King Yama. The most popular master player in the supernatural circle. By working with this person, he at least doesn't have to worry about being sold. Conversation room. The 2 of them had gone deeper and deeper. At this time, in a house, there was a faint sound of rummaging through boxes and cabinets, accompanied by the sound of hungry chewing by an old man, who kept shouting, I'm so hungry, I'm so hungry. Son, I'm so hungry, let me have a bite. Just 1 bite, I'll take 1 bite. A penetrating voice came through the house. Luo Quan shivered. His face, which was full of dark circles, couldn't hide this fear. He pulled out a compass. The needle on the compass began to spin uncontrollably, and Luo Quan's expression changed greatly. There are actually red-clothed level ghosts in this village in the city. One of them has a slightly weaker aura, but he has reached half-step of the red-clothed level. The other one's yin qi has reached the limit of the ghost guide, and it is undoubtedly a real red-clad powerful ghost. Shenjian, we must get out of here quickly. Luo Quan was talking. Shen Jian in front of him had already disappeared. Turn around and take a look. There was a scene that made him even scared. I saw that Shen Jian had strode to the house and kicked it hard. The door was kicked down. Luo Quan's entire face was stunned. I'm sorry, brother, what are you doing? Knocking on other people's doors, don't bring me with you even if you die. Could it be that he was controlled by this voice? Think of this. Luo Quan immediately went to grab Shen Jian. He lowered his voice and said quickly, Shen Jian, what are you doing? A ghost that can reveal supernatural powers in a house must start with a half step in red. Why are you provoking such a ghost? And there is a real ghost in this house. Once the red code class is alerted, how can we stay here? Shen Jian didn't look back, but said in an upright tone, didn't you hear that? Luo Quan was stunned. What did you hear? The male owner of this family refuses to feed the old man. This is really bad. For such a big family dispute, I, the gold medal mediator, must go in and talk about it. Let him understand how important it is to respect the old man. Luo Quan? Shen Jian's words were so upright that he couldn't find any fault with them. But, this is a horror world. The people living here are all evil ghosts, or the evil ghosts whose terror level reaches the half-step red-clothed level, or the red-clothed level. Go in and persuade? A skeleton is left? He's going crazy. Why has no one on the paranormal forum said that he is a good person who is also friendly to ghosts? This turned out to be a Madonna-type player regardless of lineup. Luo Quan felt ridiculous. The original idea of cooperation also dissipated. He can accept Notre Dame, but he cannot accept Notre Dame regardless of lineup, which will put him in danger. Thinking. Shen Jian has completely walked in. The bedroom door was pushed open. A pale-faced man walked in and looked at the demolished door of his home with a look of shock on his face. What the hell? Who tore down their door? In the smoke. Shen Jian broke through the dust and walked over, saying with a serious face, Resident, I just heard that you seem to be abusing the elderly. If this is true, you have to come with us. The man was stunned for a moment, and then said in a low tone, I am not abusing my mother, she is just too full. Since you are so caring, why don't you do me a favor? Said. There were blood marks on the man's pale face, and blood began to seep from his eyes and nose. He was holding two bloody butcher knives in his hands, and the yin qi belonging to the half-step red coat level swept through the room. Come and do me a favor. My mother will reward herself with a good meal when she is full. She is full now and just needs a good dessert. Can you help me? The cold voice, the surging yin qi, and the spreading supernatural power make the whole house look scary. Luo Quan was watching from outside, ready to run away at any time. Although he is a 4-star player, due to his long-term use of supernatural powers, he is already on the verge of the resurgence of the evil ghost. Before he can find a way to alleviate the resurgence of the evil ghost, he will not use the supernatural thing if he can. Moreover, 4-star players can deal with half-step red-clothed level ghosts. No matter what happens, you can get out safely. But if the real red-clothed level ghost comes out, one of them will definitely die. He is a veteran 4-star with many ways to save his life. And Shen Jian has only been around for half a year since his debut, and his background is still shallow. This can be seen from the fact that the other party doesn't even have supernatural tools to detect the evil spirit of ghosts. Once he is chased by a fierce ghost, he can escape, but Shen Jian cannot. As the person in charge of the city, he didn't want to see Shen Jian like this. He sighed a little. Okay, why do you have to have a holy mother's heart to help legally resolve family disputes? Think about it. Luo Quan shouted again, Shen Jian, withdraw, it will be too late. However, Shen Jian seemed to be possessed. He stepped forward and patted the male host on the shoulder, and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I am a professional gold medal mediator. The success rate of conflicts mediated by me is 100%, so don't worry." Man of the house? He was slightly startled. Did he not explain it clearly just now? He clearly wanted this human being to be his dessert, so why was this human being comforting him instead of not panicking? In ancient times, Buddha cut meat and fed it to eagles, but today, are humans willing to eat it as dessert? Move. He was so moved. The man laughed sadly. "In that case, I will thank you on behalf of my mother. Don't move, I will make you into a dessert now," said. The butcher's knife in his hand struck. Hit Shen Jian's head hard. Snapped. Shen Jian slapped him. The force was so great that it sent the man flying and hit the wall. "Man of the house? What are you doing?" The man covered his face that was slapped flat and looked at Shen Jian in confusion. Shen Jian shook his head and said, "Your method of mediating the problem is too indulgent for her. It will definitely not work in the long run. It must be treated with strong ingredients. Doesn't she like to reward herself when she is full? Then you can't let her eat too much full. Of course, I have a better treatment method. We can lock her up for 3 months and keep her water free. Or put food in front of her, and beat her once she wants to eat it. You know the famous dog salivation experiment. We can use this method to make her develop a conditioned reflex to fear food." Shen Jian talked eloquently. "Man? I have seen the living king of hell many times, but this is the first time I have seen a living cub species. Then this means treating the symptoms rather than the root cause. How should we treat the next disease? My mother can't stop eating, right?" The man asked subconsciously. "Oh, don't worry, this is my business card. I am also the chief physician of Huanquan Hospital and the director of the Huanquan ward. I can treat you whether you are sick or ill, and I can give you a 20% discount." Shen Jian handed over 2 business cards. "Man. Nima, it turns out you are producing and selling your own food. Beat people first until they get sick, and then treat them, right? You wanna die?" The man felt himself being entertained. He raised the butcher knife in his hand again and slashed at it. This time, Shen Jian grabbed his head and pressed it directly against the wall. Bang bang bang. The violent impact quickly brought the man to a halt. There was no more supernatural reaction. At this time, Luo Quan, who had witnessed all this, had already walked in, with a confused look on his face, and his eyes seemed to say, "Wasn't it about resolving family disputes? Is this how you help others resolve conflicts?" Shen Jian grabbed the man and said innocently, "This resident is too excited. Even if he doesn't agree with my suggestion, he can't do anything to me. I can only subdue him first and wait for him to calm down before we have a good chat." Luo Quan. He understood. If the problem cannot be solved, solve the person who raised the problem. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 283. Shen Jian grabbed the male ghost's head and smashed him to death, then took out the soul-binding bag from his body and stuffed the man into the sack very solemnly. He kept mumbling in his mouth. 1 ghost, 2 ghosts, 3 ghosts, 6 ghosts. As he spoke, a cry of woo-woo came from the sack. It seemed like there were several fierce ghosts crying and howling inside. The voice was like weeping and complaining. It's heartbreaking. Luo Quan's expression completely froze, and he couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. I really thought too much before. This is where the Holy Mother's heart is having an attack. She is clearly reincarnated by the King of Hell. Why did he come up with the idea that horror game players still have the heart of the Virgin? The information on the paranormal forum misled him. Luo Quan did not dare to move forward, and even took several steps back, looking at the young man in front of him in shock. He saw very clearly from the outside, whether he was suppressing the evil ghost when he was attacked, or finally smashing the evil ghost to death. Throughout the process, his expression was calm and serene. This is extremely scary. This means that Shen Jian did not fall into madness and do such horrific things for a short period of time, but he is quite skilled, and you can tell he is a veteran at a glance. He couldn't imagine it. What kind of mysterious and cruel past does this young man, who has only been in the horror game for half a year, have? Only in just half a year can he catch up with other players who have worked hard for several years. Not only is he able to play thriller games with ease, but he has even evolved to the point where he can calmly take this matter lightly. Many veteran players of horror games may not have such qualities. It is even more impossible to deal with a fierce ghost so calmly. The process of Shen Jian stuffing Li Gui into the sack felt like goods on an automated assembly line, packed one by one. This brother. After pondering for a long time, Luo Quan finally spoke up. Although you have the ability to easily defeat a half-step redcoat level ghost, the redcoat level ghost is really not a joke. If you capture the other party's son, she will not let it go. Yes, leave that ghost and run away now, we still have time to leave. Shen Jian shook his head with pity. I also know that this is inappropriate. I have seen how a mother who has lost her son behaves. The separation of mother and son is indeed the greatest regret in the world. So, in order to prevent this kind of tragedy from happening here, I have the responsibility and obligation to take his mother away so that mother and son can be reunited. Luo Quan. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. I bet you also know it's wrong. The reunion of mother and son has been played out in new ways. After kicking the sack to make the crying stop, Shen Jian continued, there are strange noises in his kitchen. The mother should be there. Let's go help her, said. Shen Jian strode to the kitchen. Luo Quan was about to speak but stopped. I'm afraid not many people can bear your help. But after looking at the dented wall beside him, he wisely closed his mouth. With Shen Jian's ease when facing a half-step red-clothed level devil. Even if you lose to the red-clothed level ghost, you can still escape intact. Plus he can provide the necessary help. It shouldn't be a problem for two 4-star players to join forces to suppress a red-clad ghost. Think about it this way. He also followed. The moment they opened the kitchen door, there was an old woman squatting under the stove, her back facing them. Her back moved as if she was chewing something. In the small kitchen, the smell of blood was so strong that it couldn't be boiled away. There was also the sound of a woman whimpering. You. Hear sounds. Luo Quan's expression changed. This is also a ghost. Ghosts eat ghosts. This old woman is extremely vicious. In the horror world, ghosts eat people, eat food, and eat ghost meals, but not the same kind. A ghost that eats ghosts is no different in nature from one that eats humans. Either he is a pervert or he is extremely vicious. The evil spirit is hard to get rid of. This kind of fierce ghost is not willing to mess with others of its kind. Afraid of being spotted. Causing a lot of commotion. More importantly, this kind of ghost is far more cruel and powerful than ordinary ghosts. Shen Jian glanced over. This old woman is wearing Ming clothes, which are gray and white. His body was covered with mud, and the soles of his feet were covered in mud. It looked like it had just been dug up from a graveyard. Think about it. Shen Jian strode forward. Old lady, does your son often abuse you? Why do you stay here to eat? Hear this. The old woman suddenly turned her head tilted 90 degrees, with a sinister smile on her thin, wrinkled face, and her big mouth full of blood. She smiled ferociously at Shen Jian. Yeah, he abused me and never gave me enough to eat. The old woman's voice sounded very sad. There was a hint of sadness on a twisted grimace. However, the blood dripping from her mouth made the whole atmosphere permeable. "Little doll, let me take one bite, just one bite." The old woman gave up the food in her hands and turned her eyes to Shen Jian and Luo Shen. The head that originally only turned half of the way turned around little by little, making the sound of turning gears. Her limbs also twisted strangely, and she licked her scarlet tongue. "Baby, I'm full. I want to have a good meal. Let me take a bite of you." The old woman opened her mouth and split it until it was as big as her whole head. As she opened her mouth, strange notes spread throughout the room. An unknown supernatural force takes effect. Luo Quan immediately noticed that the endless resentment was coming, disturbing his mind and interfering with his judgment. What made him even more frightened was that this supernatural force actually forcibly cut off the ghost jigsaw he was controlling. "Not good!" he exclaimed. "This red-clothed powerful ghost actually possesses the most powerful supernatural powers for those who control ghosts. Ghost controllers rely on the ghosts they control to resist unknown dangers. Once this connection is cut off, they are weak humans, and any attack can kill them. It's over." Luo Quan looked regretful. "Sure enough, you can't be blindly confident just because you have a winning ticket. In the horror world, any unexpected situation may happen. No one would have expected that a red-clothed fierce ghost that they encountered casually would have supernatural attacks against ghost masters. Hey, take one bite, I will take one bite." The old woman saw this. The big mouth bit it directly. Apparently he planned to swallow the heads of Shen Jian and Luo Quan together. Luo Quan struggled, trying to force Li Gui to revive to buy time. "Okay, I'll give this to you." Next moment, Shen Jian grabbed a rolling pin from the stove and stuffed it upright into the old woman's mouth. In order to prevent her from chipping her teeth, Shen Jian thoughtfully wrapped it in yin qi to prevent the rolling pin from being damaged. "Old woman." She bit it subconsciously. But he found that his mouth could no longer be closed. A rolling pin that couldn't be broken no matter how hard she bit it was stuck in her mouth. The old woman was startled. Just as he was about to take it out, he saw that Shen Jian had already raised the morning stick, aimed at the raised position and struck it. Ah! The huge force penetrated, and the rolling pin directly broke the old woman's mouth. The intense pain made this fierce ghost wail in agony. Half a minute later, Shen Jian walked out of the kitchen. The screams stopped and the ghosts were gone. Luo Quan was the second to walk out of the kitchen. He looked frightened. He looked at Shen Jian in horror. "I saw with my own eyes what cruelty is. Damn it, who the bastard said he was a holy lady type player? Whose holy mother would make a big hole in someone's mouth, and then continue to beat them with the white bone stick in their hand at the clear begging of others?" The screams lasted for half a minute. This half-minute was the longest time in his life. From now on, if Shen Jian is said to be the Holy Mother's, he will be the first to spare him. Before leaving, Shen Jian casually took a family photo. Stacked 3 photos on top of each other. "Luo Quan," he gasped. He hesitated and said, "Brother Shen, you have already obtained 3 tokens. Does this count?" Shen Jian raised his eyebrows and said, "Why not? This is what they gave me willingly." "Luo Quan, you have big fists and you have a point. Brother Shen, our alliance." Shen Jian said nonchalantly, "Jaja, if you encounter a fierce ghost threatening to call me, your loyal allies will come to save you as soon as possible. Hear this." I don't know why, but he should have been happy, but he didn't feel happy at all about the successful alliance. I always feel that even if another one-star player comes over, Shen Jian will form an alliance with him. He was a little sad. Feeling underestimated. But the feeling of hugging my thigh is really good. Time flies. At night, the silver-armored Ghost King appears. The players who received the news return to the entrance of the urban village one by one. There is a strong sense of antagonism between them. Shen Jian looked over. 6 out of 10 players came. 4 more people have been confirmed dead. Excluding him and Luo Quan, the remaining 4 players competed with each other. The killing intent in his eyes was even more undisguised. It seemed like if the game hadn't been over, they would have continued fighting. The silver-armored Ghost King was very satisfied with this performance. Okay, hand over the token. As soon as these words came out, 3 of the remaining 4 players looked even uglier. The remaining player took out a toy. Shen Jian glanced over. The other party's ID is Zhao Ming, a delicate man with a slicked back hair. Just thinking about it? Luo Quan also walked up and took out 3 small objects. Shen Jian also took out a thick stack of family photos from his pocket. At a rough count, there are at least 50. Silver-armored Ghost King? Players? Except Luo Quan, everyone present was shocked. Grass. Are you going to restock? In one morning and one afternoon, you knocked on at least 50 doors? Buses don't even dare to let customers in like this. The silver-armored Ghost King was also confused. But these family photos do contain the strongest evil spirit. It would be impossible to have such resentment without spending time with the evil spirits day and night. In other words, this human actually knocked on at least 50 homes for most of the day, and made these owners willingly give away these things. His central air conditioners don't even dare to provide warmth like this. He subconsciously asked, how did you do it? Influence them with love. Silver-armored Ghost King. Players. Your love is very broad. The silver-armored Ghost King's face turned gloomy without asking for the answer he wanted. But the player was still brought back to the city lord's mansion. En route. The silver-armored Ghost King said to Shen Jian, as if he meant something, the first team of law enforcers is led by the deputy city lord, and I am the captain of the first team. Among the 3 law enforcement teams, the first team is also the strongest. Normally, the members don't have the opportunity to choose a team, but this time the city lord's palace attaches great importance to the selection. Tomorrow, the deputy city lord and the city lord's wife will come. Choosing the right team is crucial to future development. Hear this. All the players looked at Shen Jian with envy. This is already blatantly clear. Joining a team of law enforcers, with the endorsement of the silver-armored Ghost King and the deputy city lord, what else is there to be afraid of in Nanjiang district? You can walk sideways. But after thinking about it, I can't feel envious. After all, the fact that Shen Jian took out 53 tokens was not something that a normal person could do. Soon, the group of people had returned to the city lord's mansion. After allocating the dormitories, the silver-armored Ghost King had already left. The remaining players also returned to the dormitory one by one. Shen Jian visited the city lord's mansion. On the back of the hand, 6 ghost eyes opened at the same time. Expand the ghost realm. I want to know where the city lord here is. At this time, a figure broke into the scope of the ghost realm. You're early. A cold and somewhat charming voice suddenly sounded. Shen Jian turned around. Under the pale moonlight, a beautiful and graceful figure was standing behind him. The oblique brilliance is like a spotlight, making her look like the moon goddess, full of a divine beauty. That moment, Shen Jian gained insight into the other party's identity. The wife of the city lord's mansion. A stranger with whom he had a close acquaintance and whom he had known for a long time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 284. Shen Jian did not expect that before he went to find the city lord's wife, The other party had already arrived first. He looked. Under the dim moonlight, this graceful figure got closer and closer. The woman has wavy black hair. The bridge of the nose is high and the appearance is exquisite. The thin lips are painted with red lipstick. Her curvy figure was wrapped in a black one-piece hip-hugging skirt. The sleeves were hollowed out, and her fair and delicate skin was vaguely visible. Curved hips, slim waist. Such a figure satisfies almost every man's fantasy. However, such a woman who is a national goddess even in the real world has a small horn on her forehead. It completely separated her from human identity. On the contrary, it is more like the legendary demons and monsters. A strange color flashed in Shen Jian's eyes. Another ghost that is infinitely close to the abyss level. The city lord's mansion is actually deeper than the water in the 4-star dungeon blood paper shop. Although the bloody paper shop has an extraordinary status, it is not as difficult as imagined in a 4-star supernatural dungeon. In the final analysis, it is naturally because the bloody paper making shop does not rely on the level of terror to intimidate the copies, but rather the identity of the paper making master. The Nanjiang City Lord's Mansion is a 4-star supernatural place that relies on hard power. There are 3 major law enforcement teams and 3 ghost kings. Among them, the captain of the first law enforcement team, the silver-armored Ghost King, is a ghost that is infinitely close to the abyss level. The city lord's wife in front of her was also close to the abyss level. There is also a deputy city lord whose strength is unknown. In addition, Nanjiang City Lord is an abyss-level ghost. In a supernatural place, more than 4 ghost kings gathered together, or even more. Sure enough, it is undoubtedly a 4-star dungeon with 10-player difficulty. You're early. I haven't unified the City Lord's Mansion yet, and there's still some time before the Nanjiang District Championship. The City Lord's wife, shrouded in moonlight, approached and confronted Shen Jian. Hear this. Shen Jian frowned. He might have guessed something wrong. Then Shen Jian asked, when you become the City Lord, will the Nanjiang District Championship begin? Of course, the Nanjiang District competition is a competition for the entire Nanjiang District. Only the winner can have the right to rule the Nanjiang District, and the supernatural place where it is located will also become the next City Lord's palace. The City Lord's wife arched her eyebrows and said seriously. In the last competition, Nanjiang City Lord's Mansion gained the right to rule, so this became the place of dominance in Nanjiang District. However, as long as the next competition fails, the quota will be deprived of it. Shen Jian was thoughtful. From this point of view, even if he captures the City Lord, he will not be able to control the entire Nanjiang District. Here, some permissions may be required. That's why I said you came early. You are my trump card in the competition and can help me compete for this position. But you came here at the wrong time and caused a sensation in the City Lord's palace. Now everyone knows that a powerful human being will soon join the law enforcement team. The tone of the City Lord's wife was a bit complaining. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. His eyes moved. City Lord's wife Paininjian. Level, Ghost King. Introduction, an ambitious woman who tries to be superior to everyone. She enjoys being coveted by men but can only feel ashamed of herself under her aura. She has a deformed mentality and worships powerful men. After she surpasses them, will give up without hesitation. Current status, complaining, dissatisfied. Favorability, 40, friendly. After reading these, Shen Jian understood something. This is a woman who is very eager for power and status and extremely utilitarian. And he appeared at this time, joined the law enforcement team, and was exposed in front of everyone, which undoubtedly disrupted the plan of the City Lord's wife, but she was full of complaints and dissatisfaction and still had a 40-point favorable impression of him. It seems that the City Lord's wife cannot do without him yet. Think about it. Shen Jianyi pointed out, on the way back just now, the silver-armored Ghost King invited me to join the first law enforcement team. He also said that the deputy city lord thinks highly of me. As soon as these words came out, the pretty face of the city lord's wife, whose tone was full of complaints just now, suddenly froze. You agreed? Not yet, but the conditions are very tempting. I'm afraid I won't be able to withstand such sugar-coated bullets, Shen Jian said vaguely. The city owner's wife concentrated. I gave you shares in Sweet Home Community. I also helped you deal with the third law enforcement team and removed the obstacles for you. Moreover, even if you gave me all the Sweet Home Community, its value is not enough for me to help you such a big favor. Old God Shen Jian said. The shares of the Sweet Home Community given to him by the city lord's wife were at best the icing on the cake. Not even that, it could only be said to be an unexpected blessing. But what the other party wanted him to repay was to help her obtain the authority of the Nanjiang district manager, and the value was simply not equivalent. Madam, do you think that just this small favor can allow me to do you such a big favor? Shen Jian approached. His aggressive posture made the city lord's wife subconsciously take half a step back. But he reacted quickly. He took back his retreating steps. Standing in front of Shen Jian, he raised his head and looked directly at Shen Jian. At this time, the distance between the two is no more than half an arm span. It seems that if you take 2 more steps, they will stick together. See this? Shen Jian's smile grew wider. The city lord's wife pursed her lips. What do you want? As long as the city lord's mansion has it, you can ask for it. Really? Shen Jian took 2 steps forward and placed his hand on the thigh of the city lord's wife. Pei Ninjian was startled. Immediately, his whole body tensed up, and his beautiful eyes were full of disbelief. How dare this human being be so bold? You must know that this is the city lord's mansion. And she is the wife of the city lord. He is one of the high-ranking leaders of this large supernatural place. However, this human being, whom she had just met for less than 10 minutes, dared to treat her directly. That's enough, human. The city lord's wife had a cold face. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. If you want the horse to run, you have to feed it grass. Don't you understand, madam? But you haven't run away yet. How can I believe that you can help me seize the position of city lord? Deputy city lord is not easy, and even if you deal with him, you can't let me sit in this position safely. The city lord's wife glared. Shen Jian showed some confusion and asked, how do you say it? If you want to sit on the position of city lord, in addition to the approval of the city lord, you also need the approval of the 4 ghost kings. These 4 ghost kings were the heroes who accompanied the city lord of Nanjiang to compete for the hegemony. If you want to participate in the next hegemony, you must obtain the approval. Their support. The city lord's wife explained. Moreover, the law enforcement team is also the backbone of the city lord's palace. Of the 3 law enforcement teams, I control the second team, and the deputy city lord controls the first. The third team, especially the silver-armored ghost king of the first law enforcement team, only the deputy city lord follows suit. In other words, apart from controlling a second law enforcement team, you don't have any support from the city lord's mansion. Shen Jian's eyes were strange. How is it possible? If this is the case, how can I have the confidence to participate in the competition? I have secretly recruited one of the 4 ghost kings. With that leader, as long as you give me a period of time, I can pull all 4 ghost kings into my camp. By then, even if the silver-armored ghost king supports the deputy city lord, it will be too late. The city lord's wife clenched her fists, showing a confident look. At this moment, she had a hint of the arrogance of the city lord's wife. Shen Jian nodded. I finally understood the situation of the city lord's wife. Now all aspects are suppressed by the deputy city lord, but the spark has been ignited. I'll help you, Shen Jian said. How can you help? Of course I have my own way. Don't you want to win over the 4 Ghost Kings? Tell me the location and I will help you win over them quickly. Then I will help you get rid of the silver-armored Ghost King and the Deputy City Lord. In that case, your position as City Lord will be stable. All right. There was a hint of silent excitement on Shen Jian's face. A silver-armored Ghost King and a Deputy City Lord, if you capture these two, you will surely be able to unlock the 14th level of Hell. And the City Lord's mansion will also be his. The City Lord's wife controls the City Lord's mansion, and he controls the City Lord's wife. He didn't like management at all, but it happened that the City Lord's wife was extremely eager for power and status, so he could help her manage everything. The division of labor is perfect. Are you sure? That Sifang Ghost King is not a vegetarian. He has fought bloody battles with the Lord of Nanjiang City. His strength is the best at the level of the Ghost King, far more terrifying than the captain of the 3rd Law Enforcement team you killed before. There was a trace of heartbeat on the face of the City Lord's wife. Although she was sure of winning over the Sifang Ghost King, there was no certainty, and there were always hidden dangers. If this human being could help her win over the Sifang Ghost King, it would save her a lot of time. Of course, but there are conditions. Shen Jian said ambiguously, every time I help you win over a Ghost King, you have to fulfill one of my wishes. Of course, this wish is limited to what you can do immediately. 3 Ghost Kings, a silver-armored Ghost King, plus a Deputy City Lord, that's 5 wishes. Madam, you can look forward to it and see what I will ask you to do. Say it. Shen Jian turned and left. Only the City Lord's wife was left standing there, looking at a loss. The blush still lingered on her face, and her heart palpitated. 5 wishes, do I really want to fulfill his 5 wishes? What if he makes some particularly unreasonable demands? Do you want to agree? She felt melancholy inside. Ever since she started managing the City Lord's mansion, the battle between her and the Deputy City Lord started. They fight openly and secretly with each other, refusing to give in to each other. However, due to her husband's delegation of power, the Deputy City Leader's power expanded day by day. Even if she was dismissed, she had only controlled a 2nd law enforcement team for so many years. If you want to sit on the position of City Lord, you will never see it. And Shen Jian's proposal today is probably the closest she will get to the position of City Lord. I can't bear to let the child trap the wolf. Pei Ninjian murmured. She just needs to step back when Shen Jian wants to do something outrageous. She was still sure of this. After all, she hasn't had much desire over the years. A human man cannot sway her. The other side. Shen Jian was walking back to the dormitory. He compiled the information he had recorded from his conversation with the City Lord's wife. The 3rd law enforcement team, the 3 Ghost Kings. The 4 great heroes, the Ghost Kings of all directions. Deputy City Lord, City Lord's wife. The Lord of Nanjiang City. In a 4-star supernatural place, 10 Ghost Kings were born. He wouldn't believe it if there was nothing fishy about it. By becoming the ruler of Nanjiang District, can I have the resources to mass-produce Ghost Kings, or is it some kind of place of yin energy? Shen Jian was thoughtful. It is increasingly felt that occupying Nanjiang District is a strategic step for the development of the underworld. Next. He only needs to help the wife of the City Lord who likes power and position to sit in a high position, and then he can participate in the Nanjiang District hegemony competition and gain the authority to manage Nanjiang District. Shen Jian's face showed a hint of excitement. While thinking, a distress message appeared on the chat interface. Yeah, brother Leg, save me. Shen Jian? Isn't this guy the person in charge of the city? So unlucky. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chi Gua. Chapter 285. Seeing the call for help on the chat interface, Shen Jian stopped. Yao yeah, brother Leg, save me. King Yama, what's going on? Yao yeah, on the way to my residence, I don't know why I saw a wax museum appearing on the road I must pass. I suspected that I was involved in the ghost world. I had no choice but to enter the wax museum to investigate condition. Yao yeah, but not long after entering, the wax figures around me came to life one by one. When I was about to take action, I found that I had been attacked by a supernatural being, and my legs and feet were wrapped in a layer of wax figures. Yao yeah, then a pervert came over to me and told me that he wanted to turn me into his work. Brother Leg, please save me in a desperate need. Look at the text that keeps coming out. There was a hint of surprise in Shen Jian's eyes. Wax museum? Is it such a coincidence? He remembered that among the 4 ghost kings mentioned by the city lord's wife, there was a wax ghost king who could mass-produce wax dummies and endow them with supernatural powers, turning them into supernatural creations. The strongest point of this wax ghost king is that it can stuff ghosts into the wax statue, forcibly control the actions of other ghosts, and can also use the supernatural powers of other ghosts. In the original competition for hegemony, the Wax Ghost King helped the Lord of Nanjiang City reverse many crises and made great contributions. He is one of the 4 Ghost Kings behind the City Lord's mansion. The fierce ghost that attacked Luo Quan was most likely this Ghost King. Think of this. Shen Jian showed a smile. This is really a pie in the world. No hesitation. Shen Jian started to ask for the address. King Yama, where are you? Yao yeah, right at the place where they separated at the beginning. Brother Leg, there should be a ghost zone covering it, so it's easy to get caught. Shen Jian's eyes looked a bit strange. The Wax Ghost King does not attack people randomly. Luo Quan must have triggered the other party's killing pattern. He remembered that the wife of the city lord said that the Wax Ghost King would select those weak-looking ghosts and stuff them into the wax statues, so that they would be reborn and live in the world with a new attitude. He estimated. It was Luo Quan's groggy look, as if he was about to die suddenly after staying up late at night, that made the Wax Ghost King think that he was not going to die soon. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain why this Ghost King attacked Luo Quan alone. Thinking. Shen Jian has already arrived at the scene according to the location. The other side. Luo Quan, who had heavy dark circles under his eyes, looked horrified. At this time, his waist below was already solidified by a thick layer of wax. The place wrapped by the wax figure seemed to have disappeared, and there was no feeling at all. If he hadn't experienced supernatural events, large and small, and knew that this was a supernatural effect, he would have broken through the defense long ago. But he was desperate inside. In his sight, there were more than a dozen wax figures like him placed around the wax museum, but the difference was that the faces of these wax figure dummies were all scary faces. A middle-aged man with wax dripping from his face was holding a carving knife and carefully cutting out a certain wax figure, cleaning off the excess parts one by one, and then imitating the dead ghost inside the wax dummy. The overall atmosphere seemed eerie. Luo Quan felt desperate. Because the fierce ghost in front of him was a ghost king. In his eyes, this is already the ceiling level of horror games. Even veteran 4-star players, and even the current number 1 in the supernatural circle, dare not say that they can survive the attack of a ghost king unharmed. Not to mention him. Although the supernatural is somewhat special, no matter how special it is, it cannot resist the supernatural gap between the two. Asking Shen Jian for help was the last straw he grasped. But looking at the chat content that had no response, he knew. This requirement is still too demanding. He had only known Shen Jian for a day. Who would be willing to confront a ghost king with someone they just met for a day? It would have been impossible for him to agree to such a request. At this time, the wax figure ghost king has finished repairing the work. Then, looking at Luo Quan with furrowed eyes, the wax ghost king's gaze was as vicious as a poisonous snake. Luo Quan couldn't help but tremble when he took one look at him. For the first time, he felt that death was so close to him. This Ghost King can kill him on the spot with just a little force. The psychological quality is good, that's good. I will turn you into my most perfect work, keep your most perfect appearance, and make it a fine collection in my wax museum. The Wax Ghost King smeared the wax oil on Luo's body little by little. First it was the waist, then the arms, and then it spread to the neck. His voice is also very gentle. As an oil wax master, he puts 100% passion into each of his works. But if it fell into Luo Quan's ears, it was simply scarier than the devil. He naturally knows what the other person's work is. Looking at the wax oil that had been smeared on his neck, Luo Quan showed a trace of fear on his face. See this? The wax figure Ghost King laughed crazily. Scream, scream quickly, scream out, I want to freeze your most perfect appearance at this moment. Shen Jian found it based on the location. Here is a cobblestone path leading deep into the depths. There is nothing but potted plants. Ghost eyes. Shen Jian said to himself. On the back of the hand, 6 scarlet eyes immediately came to life, and a scarlet ghost realm enveloped them, turning the night sky into a bloody world, but they soon disappeared. And in front of Shen Jian, a building also appeared out of thin air. Happy Wax Museum. No hesitation. Shen Jian pushed open the door and entered. I saw the weird wax dummy that Luo Quan said. On the face is a terrifying grimace, hidden in the wax, but you can vaguely see what the ghost looked like when he was alive. There are more than a dozen such wax dummies, all of which are placed in the museum in strange shapes. A vacant lot. The Wax Ghost King was holding a brush and applying wax to a human who was filled with fear and despair. The thick wax had already wrapped around the neck and was spreading towards the mouth. Shen Jian remained calm. Ghostland coverage. Walk straight over. He hadn't taken a few steps when the wax figure Ghost King suddenly turned his head as if he had discovered something. However, he only had his own works in his sight and found nothing suspicious. Haha, I'm overthinking it. The wax figure Ghost King turned his head again and continued his work. Little did I know. One of the wax sculptures he saw was that of Shen Jian. This is the reality-bending ability of the ghost realm. The ghost world of ghost eyes invaded the Happy Wax Museum, distorting everything in the sight of the Wax Ghost King. But the other party was a Ghost King after all, and he quickly realized something was wrong. Shen Jian continued walking. In the eyes of the Wax Ghost King, he is just a wax dummy, motionless. However, after only taking 5 or 6 steps, the wax figure Ghost King turned his head again, and it was obvious that only his own work was still in his sight. It's strange, why do I always feel so cold behind my back? Doubt flashed across the face of the Wax Ghost King. He looked carefully and found nothing. Keep turning your head. At this time, Luo Quan's mouth has been sealed with wax. Only the nose is left to exhale. Once it is sealed, it will suffocate to death sooner or later. As Shen Jian walked, he had already taken out the soul-suppressing hammer. The Wax Ghost King's face was twisted and laughing, and the brush covered with oil and wax had been raised. Luo Quan's pupils shook violently. Horror flashed in his eyes. I wanted to speak, but my voice could no longer come out. This oil wax can block everything. Even the supernatural can't break through. Luo's face was ashen as death. At this moment, the wax figure Ghost King suddenly felt palpitations in his heart, and he immediately turned his head. In his sight, there was still only the wax figure of his own work. Wax Ghost King? The suspicion on his face deepened. Every face was wrinkled. What a hell! He was doing art creation at home, but he felt a chill in his back and a feeling of fear in his heart. It's like being targeted by something dirty. He tensed up inside. He walked up and counted his works carefully to prevent any dirty things from getting in. 13 works, the number is correct. The wax figure Ghost King thought so. He just turned around and prepared to perform the wax sealing ceremony on his 13th work, but suddenly, he froze. For a moment, there was a chill in my heart, and the hairs all over my body stood up. He is completing his 13th work. But just now, he didn't seem to include this unfinished part. In other words, in this wax museum, the 14th wax figure sneaked in. He suddenly became horrified. If he remembers correctly, he placed the other completed wax figures far away, but when he was just counting, a wax figure dummy ran less than 1 meter behind him. Wax Ghost King. He turned slowly. This time, his pupils widened even more. Because a wax figure with a strange smile was almost stuck behind his back. The most important thing was that he had never seen a wax figure like this before. This is not his work. Grass. What the hell? There is something dirty. He was startled. The figure is about to retreat. The wax dummy, which was motionless in his eyes, suddenly raised a hammer that was only half a meter long and had a rounded front end, and struck him on the head. Toru, you are the 6th child. The wax Ghost King only had time to let out a roar, and the huge force carried by the soul-suppressing hammer had already hit the top of his head violently. Just for a moment. He felt like his brainstem had been cracked. My brain is shaking. The vision was dark. Thump. The wax figure Ghost King fell to the ground. Shenjian squatted down. He added a dozen more hammers with an expressionless face. One strike with the soul-suppressing hammer can force the ghost into a state of death for 60 seconds. Even the Ghost King is no exception. Looking at this scene, Luo Quan was completely confused. It was a Ghost King, but Shenjian not only succeeded in sneak attack, but also completely suppressed the ghost. It even felt to him that it was easier than dealing with the red-clad ghost in the city village. What's going on? What kind of ghost weapon has such supernatural powers? Knock it once, and you will have to kneel down when the Ghost King comes. If he hadn't been wrapped up, he would have knelt down and sang surrender. Brother Legs, you are so awesome. Thinking. Shenjian had already pulled away the wax figure that restrained Luo Quan. Then left without stopping. Brother Leg, it's already here, aren't you going back to the dormitory? Luo Quan shouted in confusion. I won't go back. I have activities waiting for me tonight. Shenjian dragged the dead dog-like wax figure of the Ghost King with a strange emotion on his face. He has already thought about it? What are you going to ask the proud wife of the city lord to do later? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 286. Chapter 285. You are presumptuous. Main city. This is the core of the city lord's mansion, where the city lord handles government affairs on a daily basis. Paininjian sat in her seat with complicated emotions. Because of her status as the wife of the city lord, although she was parachuted into the center of power of the city lord's palace, her husband's delegation of power over the years concentrated the power of the city lord's palace on the deputy city lord. She has been fighting openly and secretly for many years, and she only managed to get back a second law enforcement team. She couldn't even touch the power of life and death, such as finance. If she wants to seize the managerial authority of Nanjiang District in the future Nanjiang District competition, she needs to win over the Ghost Kings from all directions in the city lord's mansion as soon as possible. Only in this way can she sit on the position of city lord. To win over the 3 Ghost Kings and defeat the silver-armored Ghost King, deputy city lord, can he really do it? The city lord's wife murmured. She pursed her thin lips, looked down at her own strengths, and thought of the strange feeling she had just been touched by that human being. She is an ambitious woman. They cannot tolerate their status being replaced by others in the future. However, Her husband has no intention of fighting for hegemony. He just wants to be content with the status quo and miss the flowers every day. He even ignores his own supernatural power and is about to be surpassed by her. She admires and worships a powerful man who can bring her supreme power, but her husband is no longer the same. Only then did he come up with the idea of becoming the city lord himself and gaining managerial authority. The appearance of Shen Jian seemed to give her hope. Unconsciously, her hands were already on the edge. The palm is preparing to move. There was a knock on the door. She reacted immediately. His face flashed with shame and anger. After calming down in a good mood, he said seriously, "What's the matter?" "Madam, there is a human outside looking for you." Humanity. Paininjian was stunned and said, "Let him in." Soon. Crunch. There was a sound at the door. Shen Jian walked in. The wife of the city lord is sitting upright, with a black hip skirt that fits the table and chairs, forming two completely different arcs from the straight tables and chairs. The hollow design on both sides exposes a large amount of white skin, making people want to peep. The inner mystery. "Why are you here?" Paininjian was a little curious. "Do you know that you are impulsive and want to give up?" She only thought about this possibility. It can't be that she has already won over a ghost king and is ready to make her wish. Shen Jian said nothing. He took out his soul-binding bag and threw the wax statue of the ghost king away. City lord's wife? When she saw the figure lying on the ground clearly, she was a little stunned. This is the ghost king in the wax museum. How can it be? She looked at Shen Jian with wide eyes. "You have already attracted one." "Almost," Shen Jian said casually. "But I was afraid of delaying the time, so luckily I brought him here." "Hear this?" Paininjian was suspicious. "Almost. That means it's not done yet. What are you bringing here for?" If this ghost king found out that he had something to do with her behind his coma, he would probably want to kill her. The other side. The wax figure ghost king woke up at the 14th minute after being struck 13 times with the soul-suppressing hammer. Looking at the environment that was completely different from that of the wax museum, the wax figure ghost king obviously had a short circuit. Then I remembered. What the hell? He was attacked by an old man. Disguised as one of his works, sneaked into his wax museum, and then attacked him while he was careless. He couldn't remember anything that happened after that. Think of this. The face of the wax figure ghost king suddenly became distorted. Shame. What a shame. He had experienced battle after battle with Nanjiang City Lord, and his premonition of danger had formed a reaction reflex. On the contrary, perhaps because of his years of comfort, he was actually successfully attacked by surprise. If this had happened during the tournament, he would have died long ago. "You're awake." At this time, a voice sounded in his ear. "Wax Ghost King. I am super surprised that this old man is still here." He immediately pulled away. A terrifying ghost face kept dripping oil and wax, and the oil spread on the ground, and the terrifying supernatural began to spread. He looked suddenly startled. In addition to that human being, the city lord's wife was also there. And stand with that human being. "Madam, what do you want to do? Is this how you invite people?" "Fortunately, I promised my old friend a few days ago that I will give you a chance to try. Now it seems that madam is no longer needed." The wax ghost king's tone was gloomy. Then he stared straight at Shen Jian. "Human, I was careless and didn't dodge before, so you succeeded in sneak attack. Are you trying again now? I'm going to smear you with oil and wax to make you my perfect 1's work." Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. He said to the city lord's wife, "Madam, wait for me." Said. Shen Jian took out the morning stick. He rushed forward like a market gangster. The wax figure ghost king showed a bit of contempt. This looks like a piece of shit. The movements were haphazard. There is no skill at all. He felt ashamed that he had been successfully attacked. Then he also stretched out his Senluo ghost hand, preparing for a hand-to-hand fight with Shen Jian. 3 minutes later. Are you satisfied? Shen Jian raised the morning stick and struck it down again. Ah, stop fighting, I'm so convinced, I'm really convinced. The wax figure Ghost King buried his head in the corner. His whole body was shivering. Being hit by this white bone rod was like experiencing torture. The intense pain made him, a tough guy, couldn't help but scream. Then take the oath. What's the oath? Shen Jian slapped him. With a dangerous look in his eyes, he said, pretend to be stupid with me, right? Swear allegiance to the madam and help her take the position of City Lord. City Lord's wife. She now understood what Shen Jian was referring to. I swear. The wax figure Ghost King endured the humiliation and said the oath seriously. Okay now, can I go? He asked cautiously. From the corner of his eye, he glanced at the City Lord's wife from time to time. I don't know where she found such powerful foreign aid. This strength is at the abyss level. There is an abyss level human being as a backer. This City Lord's wife is hidden too deeply. He even pretends to be bullied on weekdays, it seems just to paralyze the deputy City Lord. Good means. He admired it. In this City Lord's wife, he seemed to see the skills of the former Nanjiang City Lord. As expected of a couple. It wouldn't be a bad thing to help her become the City Lord and participate in the Nanjiang District Championship. Let's go, let's go. Remember, don't make any noise. As long as I hear a little hint about what happened today, I will settle the score with you. Wax Ghost King. What if I didn't spread the news? Shen Jian said casually, haha, then I'll look for you too. Wax Ghost King. Not long after. Only Shen Jian and the City Lord's wife were left in the main city building. Perhaps because she had a clear understanding of Shen Jian's boldness, this time, Pei Ninjian deliberately distanced herself from Shen Jian. He was the first to express his attitude and said indifferently, you helped me win over the Wax Ghost King. According to the regulations, I can grant you a wish, but it must be done voluntarily. She emphasized the word voluntary. Just to put an end to Shen Jian's unreasonable demands. She enjoyed being in a high position and being coveted by men. But it doesn't mean that she will allow those people to touch her body. Even her husband can no longer touch her after she gives up completely. Last time, it was just an accident. Shen Jian ignored it and strode over. Pei Ninjian's face turned cold, and Sen Luo grabbed her with his ghostly hand. Shen Jian must be given a warning. But the next moment, Shen Jian had already grabbed her wrist with his backhand. Take advantage of the situation and pull. The City Lord's wife threw herself into Shen Jian's arms. You are presumptuous. The man's breath hit her face, and while Pei Ninjian was angry, a trace of shame flashed across her face. Almost subconsciously, she slapped Shen Jian in the face with her backhand. See this? Shen Jian grabbed it with his left hand. He easily grabbed her other sharp ghost hand. At this time, both hands of the City Lord's wife were grabbed and she couldn't break free at all. For a while, she was ashamed and angry. Apart from her husband, she had never been hugged like this by any man. And even her husband had always behaved himself, and he had never hugged her so domineeringly. And even though she clearly expressed her unwillingness, he still treated her frivolously. This human being is too courageous. Let go. Pei Ninjian stared angrily at Shen Jian with her two charming peach blossom eyes, and said coldly, do you know where this place is? My husband is the City Lord here, and this is the office area of his City Lord's mansion. Are you willing to die? Do you know the consequences of being discovered? Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. Is this city lord's wife really threatening him? Why did the more he listened, the more he wanted to execute the person in his arms on the spot? After all, she said it herself, this was her husband's office area, and betraying her husband in a place she was familiar with made Shen Jian feel strange when she thought of this thought. He whispered in the ear of the city lord's wife, "Madam, then you can report me." "I don't care, but madam, you should not want what happened here to spread to the ears of those outside." Pei Ninjian gritted her teeth. This human being is neither soft nor hard. He caught her weak spot. She really didn't dare to let outsiders know what was happening here. Especially he didn't dare to let the deputy city lord and his husband know. What should she do? Let this human being be frivolous? This won't work either. He dares to be so frivolous towards her now. If this human being is allowed to run wild, no one knows what will happen next. She couldn't lose this initiative. Otherwise, what's the difference between becoming a man's vassal? Think of this. Pei Ninjian's face was firm, she must not be led by this human being. But the next moment, she felt light on her body. Shen Jian had already let go of her. He didn't continue to take action. This made her a little suspicious. Why didn't that human just continue? Obviously she couldn't resist him at that time. She looked at Shen Jian, wondering what this man was planning. And this time, Shen Jian also smiled and whispered a few words. "This is my second wish. I hope you have a good dream tonight, madam." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 287. The next day, Shen Jian woke up, thinking about which ghost king to win over next, and what wishes need to be made. There was still some time before the ghost town opened, and he had enough time to make the city lord's wife change her attitude and become submissive. To deal with such a powerful, ambitious, capable, and decisive woman, you need to lower her psychological defenses little by little. The difficulty of the city lord's wife's strategy is higher than that of the river goddess. Although the river goddess was full of hatred towards him, she had the weakness of the river god's son, so she didn't have to worry about her disobedience. However, the city lord's wife was different. This woman is ambitious and she will not be willing to submit to a man. The analysis results of Netherworld Eye also confirmed this. Once she becomes stronger than that man and doesn't even need to rely on that man, she will abandon him without hesitation. Then choose to take charge of the overall situation yourself. Have a heroic demeanor. If you want to conquer such a woman, you must let her ask for help, so that you can break down her high psychological defenses. Let her fall into the mortal world. Thinking. Shen Jian has already left the room. Brother Leg, I haven't thanked you for what happened yesterday. Luo Quan looked at Shen Jian in awe. As a 4-star player and the person in charge of a city, he knew what a sensation he saw in the real world would be if word spread about what he saw last night. A Ghost King level ghost was actually suppressed by the player. Even the current number 1 person in the supernatural circle cannot do this. In other words, the person in charge of the 3-city small city in front of him is the real number 1 person in the supernatural circle. Shen Jian nodded. Accept the other person's gratitude. At this time, Shen Jian saw the 3 players walking out of the room with pale faces. During the urban village selection, 4 players died. 3 of the remaining 6 players have become official members of the law enforcement team, and 3 have become handymen in the city lord's mansion. Looking at the expressions of these 3 players, you can tell that their work today is difficult. Damn it, you actually asked us to clean the Ghost King's dollhouse. Isn't it clear that we want to die? The horror world does not give out the option of death. there is definitely a possibility of survival. It just depends on whether we can find it out. To put it lightly, he is a ghost king. He is cleaning things under his nose. If there is even the slightest flaw, he will be played as a toy. I have never seen a perfect pass without any loopholes. The three players talk to each other. The panic in his tone couldn't be hidden at all. Even a quasi 4-star player will still feel fear. The more one knows, the deeper this fear becomes. Shen Jian listened. His eyes moved slightly. The Ghost King again? Although there are many Ghost Kings in the City Lord's mansion, they are not everywhere. The Ghost King mentioned by these three players is most likely one of the Ghost Kings from all directions that he needs to win over. Think about it. Shen Jian stepped forward. Which Ghost King are you talking about? Seeing that it was Shen Jian, the three players explained, it's a clown. Shen Jian nodded. Sure enough, he is one of the 4 Ghost Kings. The Clown Ghost King. According to the City Lord's wife, this Clown Ghost King suffers from severe battlefield stress disorder and needs to see blood every day to prevent himself from getting sick. In order to thank the Clown Ghost King, the Lord of Nanjiang City specially built a playhouse for him, and in the name of the City Lord's mansion, he recruited some handymen to be sent to the Clown Ghost King. I'll go with you guys. Hear this. Luo Quan was stunned for a moment, then his face was full of admiration. The Paranormal Forum's evaluation of Shen Jian is really correct. This is an almost perfect person. After knowing that the mission location of the three players was the territory of a Ghost King, they still chose to go with them. It was obvious at a glance that he wanted to save the lives of the three players. And last night too. If it weren't for Shen Jian, he would have died in the hands of the Wax Ghost King last night. A stranger whom he had never met for less than a day was willing to risk his life to save him. This kindness is so rare and precious. Hearing Shen Jian's words, the three players were also stunned on the spot. Luo Quan stepped forward. He looked like a bitch and shouted coldly, "Brother Leg is willing to save you. Is this how you express it? Save us." The three players looked at each other with complicated expressions. Rescue people in thriller games. What a naive idea. They had this idea in the past, thinking that they could do something within their power to save the lives of some new players, but in the end, all they got in exchange was betrayal at a time of life and death. The higher the level of the game, the colder the heart, and the more likely one is to ignore things that have nothing to do with oneself. But what Shen Jian did today made them very confused. Shen Jian. He glanced at Luo Quan. Your brainstorming ability is pretty good. He didn't expose it, he just invited all the players to go to the playhouse. On Luo Quan's side, when he saw the approving look from Shen Jian, his heart was shocked, and a sense of recognition and honor arose spontaneously. The attitude became more attentive. On the west side of the City Lord's mansion, a remote and mysterious place wrapped in thick smoke. Shen Jian walked in. A building called Playhouse comes into view. Push the door open and enter. A funny voice suddenly sounded. Guests, do you want to come see me perform? I don't charge a fee here. A wild laughter sounded. On the stage, a funny clown stepped out on an acrobatic ball. All players immediately stopped breathing. The acrobatic ball turned out to be 2 bloody ghost corpses, as if they had been forcibly twisted together to form a literal ball. The Clown Ghost King showed a weird smile and looked at everyone. Free acrobatics show, do you want to come and see it? The expressions of the three players changed. Shocked by the terrifying supernatural threat of the Clown Ghost King, even the ghost Jigsaw in his body shivered as if he was afraid. They lowered their voices and said, "You can't accept the invitation. This free service is a trap. Once you accept the invitation, you will be pestered all the time and even have to attend a charity performance. We bribed a member of the law enforcement team last night. This is what we learned from his mouth. Various magic performances of this Ghost King require the cooperation of other ghosts. If he performs a magic trick such as human body cutting, he will really know how to do it. Cut people open. When Luo Quan heard this, his heart was awe-inspiring. A Ghost King level ghost cannot be taken too seriously. They came here to save people, not to face a Ghost King. As long as you complete the cleaning task with peace of mind and are not affected by the Clown Ghost King, it will be considered a success. However, next moment, Shen Jian's excited voice sounded. Okay, I like to watch performances the most, but you must not fail in the performance, otherwise, I will beat you to death myself. Shen Jian laughed strangely. The voice seemed colder. Luo Quan. He held his forehead. Some of them couldn't keep up with Shen Jian's ideas. Clown Ghost King? These words. It seems like it should be his next line, right? Why did this human speak out first? What the hell? Stealing my limelight, right? You are dead. The Clown Ghost King stared at Shen Jian with resentful eyes, and laughed in an extremely funny tone. He, you will definitely be satisfied with this guest. Said. The light suddenly rose on the stage. All focused on the Clown Ghost King. He bowed slightly, then raised his head and grinned weirdly. Today I'm going to perform a human body cutting magic. As soon as these words came out, all players changed their minds. The player who just spoke was about to cry. Damn it! He has a crow's mouth. This human body segmentation magic is the most dangerous of all magic. Normal magic will use human vision, mechanisms, and props to deceive people's eyes. However, Li Gui's magic does not have so many twists and turns. Their human mutilations are literally literal. More importantly, once the invitation is accepted, the Clown Ghost King can force the players to come on stage to accept the charity performance. If they are cut off, even the gods will not be able to save them. Dear guests, the show has begun, don't blink. The Clown Ghost King sounded again with a joking voice. Shen Jian looked over. I saw a ghost slave walking over with stiff limbs and lying in the prop cover, with only its head and feet exposed. The Clown Ghost King picked up a blood-stained sword, with blood dripping from the blade, and then, under the eyes of everyone, cut the ghost slave in half with one strike. The scene was immediately dripping with blood. The Clown Ghost King showed a look of satisfaction on his face, and his frown relaxed. Ha ha ha, you can't experience my magic skills with this knife. I'll chop a few more times. Finished. A few more cuts. The head, feet, and body were completely chopped off. All the players saw it with chills. This isn't a magic show, it's clearly killing ghosts. Next, it's time to witness the miracle. The Clown Ghost King covered the broken body with a red cloth. Just for a moment. After lifting the red cloth, a broken body was forcibly pieced together. The erroneous ghost slave stood up, making all the players feel numb. The Ghost King level ghost is so terrifying. It's so weird that it can actually piece together a completely dead body and bring it back to life. Shen Jian saw it. His face was calm. Splicing together, this is the supernatural power of the Clown Ghost King. But compared with Yinggui's splicing, the other party's patchwork seemed extremely rough, just a bunch of minced meat being forcibly glued together. Apart from being able to manipulate spliced corpses, there is nothing outstanding about it. At this time, the Clown Ghost King looked at the players in the audience. He said something that made everyone's hair stand on end. Now, let me randomly invite a lucky audience member to participate in the performance to prove that my magic tricks are not cheating. His eyes scanned. The eyes are sinister. The players who were swept away all turned pale. If this is selected, it must not be chopped into 8 pieces. I come. Shen Jian walked up directly, not giving the other party a chance to refuse. Clown Ghost King? This human being is quite brave. Shen Jian strode forward and commented unceremoniously, "It's an old trick. It's an old trick from 800 years ago. We use in-house actors for magic shows. It's not professional at all. It can't arouse the horror of the audience. Your performance, quite a failure. Clown Ghost King? Old-fashioned, unprofessional, and a failure?" To hear this human insult his profession, he immediately became angry. A funny clown's face was completely distorted, his mouth was cracked with blood marks, and his eyes were staring at Shen Jian with hatred, as if he wanted to swallow Shen Jian whole. There was even a monstrous yin qi coming out of his body. An unknown supernatural force began to sweep through the entire grand theater. "Human, if you can't give me a reasonable reason today, I will let you try what it's like to become a living person." For a while, all players were horrified. Looking at Shen Jian on the stage, they also wanted to know what method Shen Jian had to escape from the hands of this Ghost King. Could it be that he had similar surrogate tools, so he chose to cooperate with the opponent? Everyone is still speculating. Shen Jian had already spoken, "Don't be dissatisfied if you say you are old-fashioned. With a performance like yours, I already know the final result as soon as I hear the name. Do you think your magic can surprise me? Clown Ghost King. Damn it! Who wants to amaze you? I'm trying to scare people. It's not really a magic show for you. You really treat me like a clown." But Shen Jian's words made him somewhat interested. After performing for so many years, he was indeed tired of these magic tricks. "Then what do you think can be done to improve it?" the Clown Ghost King subconsciously asked. Shen Jian grinned with a strange smile. "Simple, just do it unexpectedly and have a reversal." While talking, while Shen Jian stuffed the Clown Ghost King into the human body cutting prop, the magician who originally planned to perform magic tricks for the audience became the subject of human body mutilation. "Do you think this is a reversal enough?" "It's embarrassing," said. Shen Jian had already raised the blood-stained sword. "Clown Ghost King? Players?" The players in the audience were stunned. "I'm afraid your reversal is not a useless ghost. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace." Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 288. Watch Shen Jian stuff the Ghost King into a magic prop. The players in the audience were instantly stunned. Damn it! Didn't we say that humans are performing for charity? Why did he suddenly become a Ghost King and be treated as a performer? This change was so fast that they didn't even have time to wrap their heads around it. The Clown Ghost King was also a little dumbfounded. Looking at Shen Jian, who had already covered the props and equipment and raised the blood-stained sword, he was stunned for a moment. Then he finally reacted. There was a feeling of enlightenment. Yin said sadly, "I understand, what a performance requires is an unexpected reversal, right?" "That's just right." At the same time, when all the audience thought that the magician would eventually become the performer, the magician disappeared, and then you were stuffed into props. "This reversal is better than the one just now," said. The Clown Ghost King's funny face is 3 points more fierce. The supernatural swept across. Shen Jian must be dismembered into countless pieces, then put together and stuffed into the prop box. At the same time, he stood up with an extremely sinister smile. Just appreciate the last desperate struggle of this human being. But the next moment, a big cattail leaf fan fell down. Shen Jian pressed the Clown Ghost King's head hard and refused to let him leave. The strength was so great that the other party felt as if his head was cracked. "Clown Ghost King? What happened?" He froze. He has obviously used supernatural powers. Why is this human being still intact? And, damn it! This human being is so powerful. His head was split open. He is a majestic Ghost King, but he can't break away from a human being. Reversal is good, but the audience will get tired of it after 2 reversals, so I still have to wrong you. Shen Jianjia smiled. The blood-stained sword in his hand has been raised. Human, I refuse to perform, please don't mess around. See it? The Ghost King and the clown are all dead. This ghost weapon is his personal possession, and it can kill even the Ghost King with 1 strike. After being slashed, even if he had the supernatural ability to splice corpses together, it would take some time to recover. In an instant, yin qi continued to evaporate from all over his body, and the cold breath spread throughout the place, causing the surrounding temperature to drop rapidly, and a terrifying supernatural being descended. But no matter what, he couldn't break free from the big cattail leaf fan hand. The supernatural seems to be completely useless. This human showed no signs of being attacked. The clown Ghost King was completely panicked. I understand that this is a tough situation. So he hurriedly shouted. Hero, please spare my life. We have no grievances, so why have we reached this point? This is the city lord's mansion. If you touch me, my good brothers will not let you go. Seeing Shen Jian's butcher knife getting closer and closer, the clown Ghost King's tone also changed from begging for mercy to threatening. In the end, it became reasonable. Human, it's illegal for you to do this. I refuse to cooperate with your performance. Shen Jian grinned and joked, Mr. Clown, I have to say that you have failed to become a magician. You should be an actor. You pretended to refuse and showed the image of a frightened victim very vividly. Clown Ghost King. God pretended to refuse. How do I look like I'm pretending? I was really saying no when I stepped on the horse, and I was frightened. No, the clown Ghost King said in horror, Human, I am seriously rejecting you, not just pretending. However, Shen Jian ignored it. Still going my own way. The bloody sword was dripping with blood. This is a sign that the blood knife supernatural power is about to be activated. Once struck, bleeding will continue until the body completely collapses and dies on the spot. The clown Ghost King is about to cry. The yin qi in his body was suppressed by the big hand of the cattail leaf fan, and was useless. Immediately afterwards, he watched helplessly as the bloody knife in Shen Jian's hand was chopped off. Laugh. His Ghost King's body was chopped into 2 pieces. Ah! Screams followed one after another. Wailing one after another. He cracked. Literally cracked. Shen Jian put away the knife and said with a strange smile, Mr. Clown, you are really good at art. If I hadn't known that this was a magic show, I would have thought you were cut in half. Clown Ghost King. Damn it. You are so blind. Whoever performs will cut the magician in half. As you can see, the magician is not dead. This human body cutting performance is perfect. Next, let me try to cut the magician into countless pieces to see if he is okay. The malice on Shen Jian's face was not concealed at all. He raised the bloody knife in his hand again and completely dismembered the clown Ghost King into countless pieces. Off stage. Looking at this scene, all players were stunned. He stood there blankly, unable to speak. Mom, come out and see the god soon. At this moment, Shen Jian, who dismembered a Ghost King on the stage, has completely become a god in the eyes of the players. That's the Ghost King. An existence that stands at the pinnacle of the horror world. Even the number 1 person in the supernatural circle would not dare to collide with the Ghost King. But at this moment. But he was pinned to the ground by a human, who raised a knife and dismembered it into countless pieces of corpses. This thing is so bizarre. Make them confused. They seem to see the throne of the number 1 person in the supernatural world being taken by Shen Jian effortlessly. Gradually, the screams stopped. Everyone looked. At this time, the clown Ghost King was completely dead. There was no reaction from the supernatural being. There was a hint of pity on their faces. Awful. How miserable. It was so miserable that they couldn't help but feel sympathy for a ghost king. Clean when you need to, and don't worry about me, Shen Jian said casually. Then he took the body of the clown ghost king into the playhouse. According to the wife of the city lord, there is another ghost king in the playhouse. The skinned ghost king. What I like most is tearing off the Ligoi's skin and putting it on myself. Used for camouflage. Among the four heroes, the clown ghost king is in charge of the battle, the wax figure ghost king is the master of crowd tactics, and the remaining skinned ghost king is responsible for gathering intelligence and confusing the enemy. The ghost leather clothes he peeled off could be fake. Even if I stand in front of you, I will start to wonder if I am fake. Soon. Shen Jian stepped into the second room of the playhouse. This is a secret room. It is divided into countless exits. Just entered. An old ghost with corpse spots stood in front of him, smiling kindly and saying, "Human, you are also here to challenge the escape room. Enter along the entrance here. As long as you can escape from here before the evil ghost catches you, Lord Skinned Ghost King can help you realize a wish. But if you fail, your human skin will remain here." The corpse-spotted old ghost smiled sadly. Shen Jian glanced over. The horror level of this corpse-spotted old ghost is at the red level. A far cry from the skinned ghost king. Shen Jian's eyes were strange. He looked towards the secret room again. Asked, "How many ghosts are there in that secret room?" "There are more than 30 of them in total, but these ghosts will not appear at the same time, but will appear in batches, and their walking routes are different each time, full of uncertainty. This is the mystery of the secret room." The old man with corpse spots explained seriously. "I see. Think about it." Shen Jian turned around and walked into the secret room. As the secret room door closed again, Shen Jian disappeared into the distance. Watch this scene. The sinister smile on the old man's face became even thicker. It is simply impossible for a human to escape through the secret room he set up. Not to mention the threat of ghosts, the secret room itself is a small ghost domain. Every once in a while, the location will be reset and the entrance will be hidden. No matter how powerful this human being is, he will never get out of here. And he will soon have an additional set of exquisite human skins. Pretending to be a human seems to be quite fun. The old man with corpse spots was thinking. Boom. 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 Suddenly there was a loud noise in the secret room, like a landslide. It's like there is a humanoid ferocious beast running rampant inside. The old man with corpse spots? He was slightly startled. He quickly ran in too. Then his eyes widened. The moment he stepped into the secret room, everything in front of him turned scarlet. One after another, the isolated walls were moved by the ghost domain, and then suddenly smashed down. Only a crashing sound like landslides and earth cracking was heard. The entire secret room suddenly turned into ruins. In ruins. A figure was holding a sack, showing a burst of smiles, and put the ghosts who were knocked unconscious into the sack one by one. The old man with corpse spots? Grass. This is how you play an escape room, right? Why don't you just let me tell you the route? His heart was bleeding. The grimace on his face became even more gloomy. Stop, what are you doing? The corpse-spotted old man roared sharply. Shen Jian turned around. He said matter-of-factly, "Can't you see? I'm playing an escape room." The old man with corpse spots. The corner of his mouth twitched. He looked at the secret rooms that had all been turned into ruins. Goddamn escape room. Do you have a misunderstanding about the word secret room, or do you have a misunderstanding about the word escape? What, you can't play like this. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows with an innocent look on his face. Human, you are seeking death. The face of the old man with corpse spots was full of resentment and anger. He slowly peeled off a set of ghost skin from his head. revealed his true appearance. His face was pale, and he was wearing a set of clothes that looked like a real secret room staff member, and surging yin qi erupted from his body. A terrifying supernatural force that belongs to the Ghost King level spreads. It is the skinned Ghost King. Shen Jian looked as usual. Under the analysis of the nether eye, he understood the identity of the other party from the beginning, so there was nothing surprising. Immediately he said, "I thought you would endure it? As an intelligence officer, you don't have any patience at all. You are unqualified. Since you have shown up, I will also send you to the bliss of the West to enjoy the happiness with your old brothers." Shen Jian stuffed the last staff member in the secret room into a sack. Fumbled around a bit. He took out the blood-stained sword of the Clown Ghost King from his body. The function of this blood knife is somewhat similar to that of the ghost knife, but it does not have the supernatural power of the ghost knife to cut off the lifeline, and it is not as good as the ghost knife in terms of quality. But using this knife to send the opponent on his way means that the Clown Ghost King is with him. Skinned Ghost King. After hearing Shen Jian's words, he looked at the familiar knife in Shen Jian's hand. The Skinned Ghost King fell into rare silence. The terrifying aura on his body also stagnated. Shen Jian raised the blood knife, preparing to cut it off. The Skinned Ghost King had taken the sword with his bare hands and knelt in front of Shen Jian. With a sneer on his face, he said, "It turns out that all my old brothers are dead, so I surrender, I surrender." Shen Jian. He looked at the Skinned Ghost King half kneeling on the ground with an inexplicable expression. His eyes were strange, as if to say, "Where is your backbone? Where is your dignity? Where is the courage of your Ghost King?" The Skinned Ghost King said matter-of-factly, "Intelligence officers, that's how you pick them up and put them down. Sir, I was also called a wallflower during the competition." Shen Jian, 6 Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 289. In the main city. "So, you surrender like this?" A roar sounded. And in the office area, 2 ghost figures are kneeling. One is the Clown Ghost King with a funny expression on his face. He has been reassembled back to his body. Although it is a bit rough and some of the organs are not assembled correctly, he is still barely recognizable. At this time, this Ghost King was angrily scolding the Skinned Ghost King beside him. "Well, you are no match for him, and you were dismembered in such a miserable way. Do you think I would rather die than surrender, and then be dismembered again?" Clown Ghost King. Grass. Which pot is not opened and lifted? When he mentioned this, he thought of the scene of being brutally dismembered by Shen Jian. That human deserves to die. Even though he had begged for mercy, he still attacked him without mercy. It's simply scarier than a ghost. Think of this. The Clown Ghost King raised his head full of humiliation. He happened to see Shen Jian and the city lord's wife standing in front of him. "Human, what do you want to do?" The Clown Ghost King roared with anger. It was clear that he was not restrained and could get up and leave at any time, or even attack again, but he did not take any action. Instead, he knelt on the ground. Obviously, he also had some shadows about Shen Jian's methods. Can't you understand? He is obviously the backer that MRS Pei has found. He wants to compete with the deputy city lord and take the position of city lord by wooing us. The Skinned Ghost King explained. Clown Ghost King? He looked at his broken body that had been broken into countless pieces and finally put back together, a look of deep doubt on his funny ghost face. As if to say, he calls this wooing? The Skinned Ghost King also twitched the corner of his mouth. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and surrendered immediately. Otherwise, it would probably end like this. At this time, Shen Jian glanced at the Skinned Ghost King. He didn't have any objections to this literal wallflower. Anyway, he could only fall to him like this. That's no different than standing by his side. Now that you all know it, you should know what to do. I don't want any relevant news to spread to other people in the future. Otherwise, if I dismember you next time, I won't be kind enough to help you resuscitate me. Shen Jian's eyes were dangerous. Then he waved his hands, signaling the two of them to leave. Crunch. The door slowly closed. The skinned Ghost King glimpsed through the gap. After they left, MRSP deliberately kept a distance from the human being and looked away from the human being, as if she was afraid to face him. This made his heart skip a beat. Hey, clown, do you think there's something wrong between MRSP and that human? What's wrong? The skinned Ghost King opened his mouth. No words were spoken. I must have read it wrong. Paininjian is the wife of the city lord, the wife of the city lord. How could it be related to a human being? If this were the case, a prairie would not grow above the city lord's head. Moreover, that human being possesses terrifying strength above the abyss level. If he doesn't have a woman, why would he need a married woman like MRSP? This doesn't make sense. Perhaps, it is some kind of transaction that is difficult for others to do. The other side. On the garden gazebo. Looking at Shen Jian who was following her, Paininjian looked panicked. She didn't know whether she was afraid of being alone with Shen Jian or afraid that Shen Jian's whereabouts would be discovered. She lowered her voice and said, "Why are you here? This is not night. If you are found alone with me, the deputy city lord will be suspicious of you." Shen Jian raised his eyebrows and said, "Don't worry, I avoided these patrols when I came out. Moreover, I plan to take action against the silver-armored Ghost King and the deputy city. Are you sure you have nothing to say to me?" The city lord's wife was stunned. "You want to take action against them now? Is it impossible?" "It's not impossible, but neither the silver-armored Ghost King nor the deputy city lord will go out. According to the information I know, the deputy city lord will make a long trip in half a month, and then the silver-armored Ghost King will accompany him. That's when our chance comes." "Half a month?" Shen Jian frowned. "There are only about 20 days left before the ghost town opens. Half a month is too vague. It's too late. The deputy city lord can definitely take over the power here. He is definitely not a fool. Half a month is enough for him to figure out everything. If you want to kill him, you must do it early." Shen Jian's eyes were dangerous. How could he endure two ghost kings who were the key to unlocking the 14th level of hell for another half-month? "Then you can't do anything here, right? My husband is still the master here after all. Once an abyss-level supernatural confrontation breaks out, he will definitely notice everything, and you can't kill him," the city lord's wife said worriedly. "Hear this?" Shen Jian was slightly startled. Asked, "Lord of Nanjiang City, is it related to the competition?" "That's right, only the lord of a city can start the competition, and no other method can deprive him of his authority as the manager of Nanjiang district." Shen Jian frowned. In his opinion, the managerial authority should be the GM of a thriller game. By obtaining this permission, you will have more autonomy in the horror world. At least you no longer need to worry about being kicked out of the game and banned from the horror game because you play too much. From this point of view, Nanjiang City Lord cannot die yet. Think about it. Shen Jian had an idea. "You secretly revealed the clues of the third law enforcement team, saying that the murderer is in the supernatural amusement park, so that you can lure the silver-armored Ghost King out. As for the deputy city lord, he can't escape either." "That's an idea." Paininjian's eyes also lit up. After solving the silver-armored Ghost King, the second law enforcement team led by her can annex the entire law enforcement team. With the Sifang Ghost King and the law enforcement team as two powerful forces, her power can instantly surpass the deputy city lord. If you give her a little more time to digest, it will not be difficult to replace the position of deputy city leader. How many days do you need to prepare? Shen Jian asked. 3 days. Pei Ninjian thought for a while and gave an accurate time. Okay, just 3 days, but before that, madam, you need to pay. Said. Shen Jian stood up. He sat next to the city lord's wife. A kind of fragrance of flowers and plants comes to the nostrils, secreting the heart and spleen. City lord's wife? Her originally serious face suddenly became panicked. This was a good conversation, why did it turn into this atmosphere again? Could this human being dare to touch her in broad daylight? You, don't do this. Pei Ninjian looked flustered and did not dare to look at Shen Jian's eyes. From the corner of his eye, he looked outside the pavilion from time to time. For fear of being discovered by the patrolling law enforcement team. At this time, Shen Jian had already leaned down and said seductively, "Madam, you are saving the city lord's mansion. Think about it, are you willing to watch your husband's career that he has worked hard for his whole life be easily taken away by an outsider? And I'm helping you get it all back. All you need is some simple thank you gifts, which is an affordable price for you." Said. Shen Jian has gradually approached. It was already less than 10 centimeters away from the face of the city lord's wife. Then, in Pei Ninjian's wide eyes, Shen Jian had already kissed her red lips. Have to say, this ambitious woman, her temperament makes all men want to conquer her, but unfortunately no one has succeeded. That is a wild rose with thorns. It not only pricks hands, but also easily hurts others. Even her husband falls into this category. And just today, in her home, in the city lord's mansion, this thorny wild rose was picked and kissed. There seemed to be a very attractive scent about her, exuding an intoxicating charm all the time. Soon, Shen Jian left. Looking at the city lord's wife who was full of shame and anger and wanted to eat him alive, he just ignored her. It is not easy to conquer this thorny wild rose. Shen Jian looked over. City lord's wife Pei Ninjian. Current status, embarrassment, atmosphere, panic. Favorability, 46, friendly. He remembered that the city lord's wife had a favorable impression of him of 40 at the beginning. Now it has only been raised to 46. It can be called the most difficult one among the evil ghosts he has conquered. Even for the river goddess, the difficulty of the strategy is not that high. But the more this happens, the more enjoyable it will be to conquer. You've gone too far. The blush on her face dissipated, and Pei Ninjian returned to her cold look. It was as if everything just now was an illusion. Shen Jian didn't care either. The favorability score of 46 points does not meet the standard of a couple. Pei Ninjian's behavior is normal. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 290. Time flies. 3 days later. Pei Ninjian said seriously. According to my intelligence, the deputy city lord already knows the traces of the murderer. With his character, he will definitely choose to completely destroy the enemy at lightning speed. The law enforcement team he is in charge of is the most elite force in the law enforcement team. If they join forces, they can temporarily fight against an abyss-level ghost king. Although the supernatural amusement park is on the verge of bankruptcy, it is still in business after all. If a supernatural battle breaks out, the commotion will be huge. What's your idea? Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. The supernatural amusement park is mine. As soon as these words came out, Pei Ninjian had nothing to say. The owner of a large supernatural place can clear the supernatural place at any time, and can also cover up all movements. These are all privileges. Then you go now. Shen Jian nodded, turned, and left. The silver-armored Ghost King is a ghost that is infinitely close to the abyss level. He has been coveting it for a long time. Exited the city lord's mansion. A voice called out to Shen Jian. The sound is like the sound of nature. Sister, brother-in-law. Shen Jian paused. Looking back following the voice, I saw that the owner of the voice was none other than my sister-in-law Sunuan. Aunt-in-law Sunuan was standing in the garden of the city lord's mansion, wearing a long white pleated skirt. The sunlight was shining down, making her look delicate and charming. Why are you here? Surprise flashed in Shen Jian's eyes. Brother-in-law, why are you here? Could it be that your hidden job is to be in the city lord's mansion? Sunuan's eyes were panicked and she ignored Shen Jian's question. Because she came here with her boyfriend to go through the procedures for registering a supernatural place today, but for some reason, she didn't want to mention her boyfriend in front of Shen Jian. She has loved to compete with her sister Suwan since she was a child, and she wants to be first in everything. But when it came to finding a boyfriend, she was completely defeated by her sister. Not to mention that her sister is already married to her brother-in-law, who has surpassed her in that aspect, but she has only now made her first boyfriend. They have been dating for more than a month, and she has not even been held by her boyfriend. Just talking about the gap between her boyfriend and her brother-in-law made her feel frustrated. No matter in terms of looks, money, or status, his boyfriend can't compare to his brother-in-law. And in terms of strength, there is no comparison with his brother-in-law. When it came to worshipping ancestors in Sujia village, she had witnessed her brother-in-law's terrifying strength comparable to that of a ghost king in the Su family's ancestral hall. With one slash, more than 80 ghosts all died. Such a spectacular and terrifying scene left a deep impression on her heart. The absurd idea of snatching away her brother-in-law was also planted in her mind. Seeing my brother-in-law again at this time, this ridiculous idea emerged again. Seeing that his sister-in-law Sunuan did not respond directly, Shen Jian was thoughtful. He knew that Sunuan had a boyfriend. But it is still the purest relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend. In this regard, the sister-in-law also inherited the traditional concept of her wife Suwan, believing that she must give herself to her husband completely during the wedding night. Only then will you feel distressed by your boyfriend's desire to be intimate. Think about it. Shen Jian nodded and said, I do have a job here. How to control the city lord's wife is also a hard job. There is no problem in calling it a job. Brother-in-law, where are you going now? To work. Sunuan was slightly excited. She was the first in her family to know Shen Jian's real job. This is a secret between her and her brother-in-law. In this regard, even her sister is not as good as her. Shen Jian was startled. Do you want to go? I have a very free time at work, and I am planning to go to the supernatural amusement park to relax. The supernatural amusement park, just her and her brother-in-law? Isn't this just a date? Aunt Sunuan looked at Shen Jian shyly. After some hesitation, still nodded in agreement. Then let's go. After hearing this, Sunuan Jian followed Shen Jian and left here. Secretly, she sent her boyfriend a text message. I felt a little uncomfortable, so I went back first. Finished. She glanced at Shen Jian guiltily. I just feel my heart beating very fast. She is really a bad woman, not only trying to steal her sister's man, but also cheating on her boyfriend. Supernatural Game Park. The silver-armored Ghost King, who learned the clues about the murderer, has brought the most elite law enforcement team here. In addition to the team of enforcers of the silver-armored Ghost King, the second team of law enforcers from the city lord's wife also followed. According to the information from the deputy city lord, we can basically identify the murderer hiding somewhere in this amusement park. Don't be careless. After all, he is the murderer who can destroy the third law enforcement team. The silver-armored Ghost King shouted coldly. He led the members of the law enforcement team and rushed forward. Looking at the quiet inside of the amusement park with a gloomy grimace, an ominous premonition flashed through his heart. According to the information he received, this supernatural amusement park was still in business. Why was it closed when he arrived? Is it a trap? As soon as the idea came up. Mutated disciples. The terrible yin energy is sweeping across. A ghost king with black horns on his head walked out from a distance. This is the Niuli Ghost King. The first Ghost King Shen Jian encountered was also the first Ghost King to be refined into a ghost. Ghost King. The silver-armored Ghost King was shocked. It's indeed a trap. But just like this, he won't be afraid. Is that all? The silver-armored Ghost King sneered. He didn't think he could kill the captain of the third law enforcement team, a fierce ghost who had just entered the level of Ghost King. The words just fell. Another figure came out. This is a Ghost King with scarlet eyes all over his body. His eyes are lifeless and his expression is numb. Only his scarlet eyes are moving. He is the Ghost King with hundreds of eyes who was first killed by Shen Jian in the Ice and Snow Castle copy. Also refined into ghosts. Show up here. The silver-armored Ghost King frowned. The two Ghost Kings seemed to be terrifying for the first time, but they were enough to cause a certain blow to the members of the law enforcement team present. But it's not enough. As soon as this idea came out, two more ghost figures came out from the distance. A tall and burly figure, as if made of copper and iron walls, it was the zombie Ghost King. There was a haggard figure with a human skin drum hanging from his waist. As the corpse-spotted old man beat the human skin drum, a strange rhythm spread in the field. The members of the law enforcement team who heard the sound showed a hint of palpitations. I just feel like my consciousness is being taken away. What? Two more Ghost Kings. The silver-armored Ghost King's expression changed. Counting the two just now, these are already 4 Ghost Kings. Apart from the City Lord's mansion, which other supernatural place in Nanjiang district has 4 Ghost Kings at once? Although these 4 Ghost Kings are not as terrifying as him. But the 4 of them working together are enough to cause a devastating blow to the law enforcement team. Except for him, the whole team of law enforcers would probably be wiped out. Think of this. The silver-armored Ghost King couldn't care less, and immediately said gloomily. Blood Sea, although we have grudges, we are both captains of the law enforcement team after all. This is a conspiracy against the City Lord's mansion. You are also on someone else's must-kill list. Let's work together to kill this Ghost King. Said. He looked at the captain of the second team of law enforcers, the Blood Sea Ghost King. It was a Ghost King with a pale face and eyes bleeding like blood. He is the captain of the second team of enforcers. He and I have never dealt with each other, and we belong to 2 camps. But at this moment, only by joining forces with the captain of the second team can we capture the 4 Ghost Kings present one by one. Hear the words of the silver-armored Ghost King. The captain of the second team immediately stepped out. Just when the silver-armored Ghost King showed a smile, the captain of the second team stepped over him and walked towards him. Then the moment he turned around, a twisted smile appeared. Shinjia, this is where you will be buried today. As soon as these words came out, all members of the law enforcement team were stunned. The smile on the silver-armored Ghost King's face suddenly froze. He showed a twisted expression. It turns out that you are in the same group. Is this the work of MRSP? This is impossible. Where did she get the 4 Ghost Kings from? Madam's methods are astonishing, you can't guess. The Blood Sea Ghost King smiled sadly. Although he was a little surprised from where the City Lord's wife found the 4 Ghost Kings, it was not important. The point now is, this feeling of being about to kill an old enemy is really good. The silver-armored Ghost King was completely silent. Each member of the law enforcement team also showed a look of despair. Although supernatural beings are immortal and ghosts are immortal, in the hands of the 5 Ghost Kings, their consciousness will be annihilated one by one and they will completely fall into death. It's no different than dying. Very well, you forced me to do this. The entire face of the silver-armored Ghost King became ferocious. He took out a bottle that was still squirming like blood from his body and swallowed it even with the blood in it. Moment. The yin energy in him was rising sharply. A suffocating supernatural wave burst out from the other party. The Blood Sea Ghost King's face changed drastically, and he spoke in horror. Deep, abyss level. At this time, the silver-armored Ghost King was wrapped in armor and his body was immediately covered with a layer of bloodlines. These bloodlines seemed to be alive, swimming on his face. The yin chi belonging to the abyss-level ghosts was undoubtedly exposed. He advanced. Became an abyss-level ghost. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 291. Deep, abyss level. Seeing the silver-armored Ghost King's yin chi surge in an instant, and the supernatural oppression rolling in, the captain of the 2nd law enforcement team's expression immediately changed. What was that just now? Like a bottle of living blood, the blood is squirming and extremely fresh. And the silver-armored Ghost King who swallowed this bottle of blood actually advanced. If the abyss-level ghosts are so easy to advance, then there won't be only one Nanjiang City Lord in the City Lord's mansion to hold up the ranks. As if he knew what his old enemy was thinking, the silver-armored Ghost King's grimace looked very distorted. No, that's a drop of the blood of ghosts and gods. It was a supernatural resource that I planned to use to advance to the top Ghost King after I reached the abyss level. I didn't expect to be you deserve to be wasted in a place like this. Hear this. The Blood Sea Ghost King turned pale. Blood of ghosts and gods. How could you have such a thing? Haha, it's too late to regret it now. I'm going to dismember all of you and let you fall into the abyss of eternity. There will be no more supernatural beings. The silver-armored Ghost King opened his mouth. A sharp and vicious roar echoed. The terrifying aura of an abyss-level ghost made the captain of the 2nd law enforcement team turn pale. After a brief moment of astonishment, the members of the accompanying team of law enforcers also smiled sinisterly. Captain is invincible. Captain is awesome. The captain has actually been promoted to the abyss level. This is the 2nd abyss-level Ghost King after the City Lord. He will definitely be reused. If we join forces with the Deputy City Lord, it will not be a problem to kick that MRS pay out of the power center of the City Lord's mansion. We have long disliked that arrogant woman. She looks at us with a condescending look all day long. The ghosts cheered. Everyone looked excited. As the captain of the 1st law enforcement team, the silver-armored Ghost King has been promoted, and these members will also be reused. It cannot be said that they will rise to the top in one step, but the benefits are endless. As for the Blood Sea Ghost King, disaster was already approaching. The terrifying abyss-level ghosts cannot be countered by a few Ghost Kings working together. Maybe they can gain the upper hand temporarily, but the final result must be casualties on their side first, and then the disadvantage will continue to expand. In the end, the winner will definitely be the silver-armored Ghost King. Everyone, we should discuss. The Blood Sea Ghost King looked at the 4 Ghost Kings beside him and was about to speak when he saw the Niuli Ghost King rushing forward. Blood Sea Ghost King? Grass. Who gave you the courage to rush forward? See this. The silver-armored Ghost King showed a hint of sarcasm, and slapped the Niuli Ghost King away. Although the Niuli Ghost King who was refined into a ghost could not fully display his true strength, he was still a terrifying existence at the level of a Ghost King. An ordinary half-step Ghost King would not even dare to stand next to him. But at this moment, under the slap of the silver-armored Ghost King, the newly Ghost King was left dented and almost half-wasted. This shows the terror of the silver-armored Ghost King who has been promoted to the Abyss-level Ghost. Hee. The silver-armored Ghost King looked at the Blood Sea Ghost King with a cold gaze, and then his figure floated like a ghost and rushed in the direction of the 100-eyed Ghost King. Boom! There was another loud noise. One hand of the 100-eyed Ghost King was dismembered. Looking at the silver-armored Ghost King who looked like a ghost descending from the earth, the captain of the second law enforcement team felt a chill rising straight to the sky. It was so terrifying. Normal Abyss-level ghosts would never be so scary. It was that drop of blood of ghosts and gods that made the silver-armored Ghost King become so terrifying. With this strength, he even felt that he had already caught up with the Lord of Nanjiang City. The thought of this. The Blood Sea Ghost King's face was ashen. The City Lord's wife's plan is about to fail. Once the silver-armored Ghost King returns to the City Lord's mansion, everything that happened here will be exposed. At that time, all the rights of the City Lord's wife will be taken away. If the Lord of Nanjiang City had no regard for affection at all, it would not be an exaggeration to dismember his wife on the spot. This operation was a complete failure. Trash, I thought it was the Ghost King from somewhere, but it turned out to be just a group of slaves who were being manipulated. The silver-armored Ghost King laughed. Often just one supernatural attack would destroy most of a Ghost King. Moreover, he also discovered that these 4 Ghost Kings had no self-awareness at all and only had weak murderous instincts. Such a Ghost King is extremely weak. Blood Sea, you saw it? What you found are a bunch of rubbish. They were enslaved and manipulated. They are a disgrace to the Ghost King. The silver-armored Ghost King looked at the captain of the second law enforcement team with sinister eyes, and then rushed towards the third zombie Ghost King. Watch this scene. The Blood Sea Ghost King was completely desperate. However, just the next moment, a voice sounded out of thin air. Are you scolding my people? The voice came out. Shen Jian's figure also appeared in the center of the battlefield simultaneously. He was holding a giant ghost sickle and suddenly appeared on the path that the silver-armored Ghost King must pass. Is it you? Are these 4 Ghost Kings your subordinates? The silver-armored Ghost King frowned. He was deeply impressed by Shen Jian, a human being. It's a pity that the other party rejected his solicitation. Went together with the City Lord's wife. In his eyes, Shen Jian has been sentenced to death. Unexpectedly, he would suddenly transform and become the master of the 4 Ghost Kings. Shen Jian has no nonsense. He raised the ghost sickle and said faintly, I heard that you are quite crazy. You killed my slave in one move. Just in time, I will also strike with my sword. This magical power is great, you have to bear it. The words fell. Shen Jian swung the knife expressionlessly. The extremely compressed black light shot out, annihilating everything along the way, causing everything to collapse and all matter to turn into powder. Silver-armored Ghost King? He was completely confused. Damn it! Can you unleash such an attack? Then why are you taking the law enforcement team assessment? Why don't you just destroy the City Lord's mansion? Thoughts are still lingering. The terrifying black light wielded by the ghost sickle was reflected in the eyes of the silver-armored Ghost King, whose eyes widened in disbelief and horror. Cut it in half. Thump. 2 silver-armored Ghost Kings fell left and right. His eyes were wide open. Yet he did not die. The drop of ghost and god's blood he just swallowed spread from his body to countless strange blood threads, trying to sew his body back together. Shen Jian frowned. Walked over. No, you can't kill me. See this. The silver-armored Ghost King said in horror. He could clearly sense that if he was attacked by this human being again, he would be killed on the spot. Stuck in a dead state. Human, you can't kill me. You are from MRS Pei's camp. Now I am an Abyss-level ghost and one of the most important combat forces of the City Lord's mansion. If you kill me, you will weaken the power of the City Lord's mansion. Wait until the time comes. During the hegemony competition, the City Lord's mansion will have no ghosts available. The silver-armored Ghost King howled. Human, you have to take care of the overall situation. Shen Jian walked over expressionlessly. The sword dismembered the head of the silver-armored Ghost King. The overall situation? I am the overall situation.